Andy Sullivan from Blue Collar Corner here with Dan Halloran, newly voted in councilman for District 19. Dan, how's it going?
It's going really well. We hit the ground running, as you know. Love seeing you again. You were definitely there throughout the whole thing. You got to see this unfold, and we and my district are very fortunate.
You know, in many respects, I got to tell you, it was like a mini Massachusetts. You know, I mean, we're not as good looking as that guy, but we're not as big. But that was something else that happened, and I feel, you know, it started at the local level.
Absolutely. One of the most important things that's happened in this election cycle from November till now is that people have realized their government has become so dysfunctional, so out of step with the mainstream of society, that all over the place you're seeing not just an anti-incumbent sentiment, but a real return to the values that our country was founded on. And that means Republican, conservative values with that independent streak. You know, that streak of voters who understand liberty is what we're talking about, and that's what's at stake. That's what's on the table. Betsy McCoy-Ross said it great when she said it here. Your liberty is on the line in this health care bill, and it really is, because the government from cradle to grave wants to tell you what to do, when to do, how to do it, and they're not going to give you a say. Well, we have to stand up and take it back and say, no, you've gone over the line, and we're not going to let you do it. And that's where it starts, right here at the local level.
And how do you feel about this movement, the whole Tea Party generation? It's really starting to pick up some steam.
It's fantastic. The Tea Party movement exemplifies how our country was first formed. You know, there were civic activists in the colonies who said, government is unresponsive, government's not doing the right thing. And not only that, it's really infringing on our liberties. And we're going to say no. And that's what the Tea Party movement has always been about. And you could be a Democrat, a Republican, a conservative, an independent, a libertarian, and those values speak to you. And that's why it's such an all-embracing, and, you know, the left tries to marginalize it and say it's nothing but right-wing, but it's not. It's really the center. It's the people who are working hard every day, paying their taxes, and they're getting screwed by their government. And they're saying, wait a minute, we're not living in a socialist state. We're living in a free nation, and that free nation can't tax us to the point at which we can't function.
Okay, now, being an insider now, as you are for the last few months, what do you think the GOP should do concerning this healthcare summit that Obama is doing? I mean, is this a trap? Is he going to try and corner us? What do you think's going on?
Well, it's a no-win scenario for us, right? Because, first off, he's not taking the Senate bill off the table. As Betsy pointed out, we're dealing with a 2,000-page document. Basically, it's rhetoric and gibberish, and it's full of pork, and it's designed to create special interest group incentives. We can't have a health care bill that's about that. Our party would be better served going to the people and saying, hey, listen, here are the 10 points that we think are critical. And the top 2 have to be health care across the board and across the borders. That means if we're going to have health care policy, we have to make sure that New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut can forum shop for those health care bills. You don't have to be stuck inside the borders of a bureaucracy like New York, which makes it almost impossible for any other health care provider to come in and work here. You have to be able to provide health care in New Jersey, New York, and Connecticut and buy across those borders. That's number 1 priority. Number 2 priority is tort reform. I don't know where this went, but when you get verdicts for...
You're a lawyer, Dan, correct?
Yes, I'm a trial attorney, and I'm here telling you, I've done personal injury work as a plaintiff's attorney. We're beyond the pale on verdicts. There is no reason why somebody like the McDonald's case, where you get a multi-million-dollar verdict for spilling coffee in your lap. We're just out of control. And who pays that? Our doctors. Remember, at the end of the day, these doctors incur $400,000 to $500,000 worth of medical school bills. And they come out and have to pay that debt back. They're being saddled with malpractice insurance, which is running them, some of them, $250,000.
$200,000 the average.
Yeah. So how can you expect to pay that bill while you're paying back a student loan and put food on the table, work your 18-hour day, because that's what they're doing, and then tell them that it's worth doing this? Not going to happen. And then if you put them into a healthcare system that's providing them $20 an hour of compensation, where are we going? We're not going to be able to afford to produce the doctors who, as Betsy again pointed out, since 1950 is responsible for most of the advances in medicine.
All the innovation.
Everything that's good. And that's why everyone wants to come here. You can't cut the legs out from underneath the system and then be surprised if it fails.
Okay, I asked Betsy a question. I'm going to ask you the same. When's the last time government cut anything?
Oh, it hasn't cut since the Reagan administration. Unfortunately, even our presidents Bush, 1 and 2, they did not.
They strayed.
They came off the table with those things. And here's the problem. I mean, the neoconservative movement incredibly crippled us because rather than realizing government has a limited role and rather than realizing at the end of the day you can't spend what you don't have, they went to inflate government. And in doing so, not only incur debt, which is really not the problem. The problem is by increasing these social programs, increasing the scope and scale of government, government becomes the #1 employer, government becomes the dependency machine, and at the end of the day, then you can't rid yourself of those two opiates, right?
That's exactly. And power corrupts.
And absolute power corrupts, absolutely. And the more power you acquire, the more it's going to suck itself in. And that's where we're at. So our problem is, when Reagan came in and he said, government is the enemy, government is what's wrong, he was dead on right. But Republicans wound up controlling not just the Senate, but eventually in 1993-94, we took control of the entire Congress. And what did we do? We spent. We didn't follow the age-old Republican rule of trimming spending, cutting out bureaucracy,
fiscal responsibility.
Right. And how can you expect us to do this on the long term if we're not able to police our house? The Republican Party itself has to return to its roots.
In many respects, I see the Tea Party almost as like an internal affairs for the GOP.
Internal affairs is it's the watchdog. Yeah. And they're there to pull us back. But again, they're so not just Republicans. They're libertarians. They are conservative Democrats.
The Reagan Democrats?
Absolutely. They are. They are our friends. And they're conservatives, and they're independents, and they're willing to say party is not what matters. What matters is government being responsive to the people. You know, one of my favorite phrases from Ben Franklin was, when talking about democracy, he said democracy is 2 wolves and a sheep deciding what to have for dinner by vote. And liberty is that sheep being well-armed and prepared to contest the vote. So we have to be the well-armed sheep prepared to contest the vote, because if we don't, we're going to get devoured by our government.
Very good. Dan, thank you so much for your time.
Andy,
good luck, pal.
All the best.